Hello everybody, this is Petey from BurgZerg Arcade at BurgZergArcade.net, and here we are back again with another tutorial in our item system. So we're going to go ahead, open up Unity, and I want to start off with a correction on one of our scripts. It's the, I believe the ISWeapon. Yes, the interface name, I missed an I. So I just want to start off with a quick fix right there, and then we can close that. Head back into Unity. And we've got the outline done for our new editor. So I want to go ahead and start actually creating some classes to, well, start using in the editor. And I'm just going to start off here with the first one, weapons. And we got to sit down and think, how do I want my weapons to work? I know I want ranged weapons and I want melee weapons, but do they need to be separate classes? The only thing different is one has range, one doesn't. That's really the only difference. You can just have melee as a range of 0. Who knows? Maybe you got a melee weapon that you want to have a little bit of range on. Maybe you want to give it a range of 3 or something like that. No, I'm going to keep my separate classes simply because I might want to have special ammo for a ranged weapon. The game I'm thinking about creating, I don't want to have special ammo for. But if there's something that happens later on down the road and I do want to have, I guess, more of a differentiation between my melee and ranged weapons, I'm going to wish I had a separate class then. So with that in mind, I am going to keep a separate class. So let me see, we got a bunch of stuff. I'm going to go in. I want to go ahead and create a new C# script. I'm going to call this ISWeapon. Not melee weapon, not ranged weapon. I think I'm just going to call it weapon. And we'll go ahead, we'll open that up. We'll just go ahead and reload. And we need another interface here. I'm going to go ahead and open up object. Mostly just because I want to grab the namespace. And of course, we'll do the usual stuff that we do here. I want to make sure it's in the proper namespace, so I got to make sure. Actually, now I'm thinking about it. Maybe we won't use an interface. We could actually go ahead and use an abstract class. I haven't introduced you to that yet. But since we already made the interface, let's start off with the interface itself. I do eventually want to get into creating a factory to create all of our items, but that might be something that we maybe come back and refactor at a much later date, or it could be a separate series altogether. I'm not sure yet. Sometimes it can be kind of hard to get everything in that I want to get in with just the amount of time that I have to make these. But let's go ahead. Let's think about weapon. What's something that every weapon's going to have that other items don't have? For now, I'm trying to think. I just want to have one flat damage. This weapon does 5 damage. Well, I don't want to have a range. This weapon. Well, we can actually have different weapons too. That's one of the things we could change with the different weapons. Have it return an int, and I'm going to call it min damage. Now, I already know that I want some weapons to basically have a static amount of damage to do. Like I said, every time you swing, it always does 5. But I know later on I want to be able to create weapons that have a variable damage range, so maybe 4 to 6. So the average comes out to be 5, but every so often it does a bit more and a bit less. So to start off with, I'm going to call it min damage. And we're just going to stick with the getter and setter. And I'm not going to do a max damage. I want to do that in a different one. For now, this is just the base weapon. And I want another one called int. I'm trying to think, attack roll, something to call the get the damage of when I attack. Let's just call it attack for now. And it's going to return an int, basically just saying how much damage it does. So the weapon itself, we can keep it like a private algorithm where it calculates the damage that's going to be done. So later on when we do have stuff that has variable damage, maybe different formulas for different weapons, we just call attack. Doesn't matter how we implement it. It goes ahead, does its calculation, and it just returns it with the attack. And I might actually do a float here. Now let's keep it as an int. It's one of those things I'm even thinking of a uint, but we'll keep it as an int. Now to go ahead and create the base class, there's a lot of other methods or a lot of other interfaces that we're going to want to bring in. Because all weapons, well, not all weapons are going to be stackable. We might have stackable weapons, like maybe throwing knives or something like that. But they're all going to have a quality. They're all going to be an object. They're all going to, well, chances are they're going to be a game object as well. They're going to have an equipment slot. So that means they will be equipable. And I want my weapons to be destructible. So we're going to be inheriting a lot of this stuff. And there's a couple ways we can do it. Since I know all my weapons are going to want that anyway, I can go ahead and inherit here. And just start typing out all those interfaces. But I like to keep my interface really clean. Clean as possible anyway. And I'm going to create a different class to do it. So I'll create a C# script. And I'm going to call it ISWeapon. Make sure I've spelt it right. And we'll reload. And do I still have the namespace in? I do. Great. And we can take all this out. All right, let's start inheriting stuff. I know I'm an iOS object. I'm going to be an ISWeapon. IISWeapon. Interfaces. I'm going to be destructible. I'm equipable. Equipable. I am going to have a prefab or some sort of game object in world, so I'm also part of IIS game object. And that's not showing up, so let's go ahead and open up that class. We'll take a look, see what I did different here. And I forgot the I. So we'll go ahead and fix that. And while we're here, we'll just jump back in. IIS game object. What else do we have to implement? We've done that. It has equality, but we're going to get that from the object. This is not stackable. And do I have ISWeapon? I do. I have the first one. So that's it. That's not too bad. All right. So this is the class we're inheriting. And these interfaces, depending on the IDE you use, like you see on mine, they're kind of a yellowy green. And of course, the classes themselves are green. So let's go start implementing. Actually, no. Let's do one at a time, okay? And I'm still debating on whether or not I want to make this an abstract class. Well, for now, we'll set up as a regular class. I'm just thinking ahead when I go ahead and start making the factory, this would be better off as an abstract, but I'm not really 100% sure when we're going to get around to making a factory to generate objects, so we'll leave it as a regular class for now. So min damage. We need a getter for this and a setter. So up here, I'm just going to go ahead and set a private serialize field, and I'm just going to call it min. Of course, it's of type int. Min damage. And this will just simply return min damage. Now, I actually like to type all these out. I know some people like to set it up in a way where you don't need all these private variables, but for me, I'm set in my ways. I need to be able to see all those private variables up top. I know C# allows you to get around some of this stuff, but it's just the way I like to do it. And as you get better in C#, you'll be able to skip some of this stuff. Okay. One too many. Attack, we're not going to do anything with attack yet, so I'm going to leave it with the throw statement. And let's move on to the next one. So we got weapon. Let's do the destructible. And we're going to deal with durability, max durability. And that's it. So we'll go ahead and do these. So serialized field, int underscore durability. Why did you go down to the next line? And we also have max durability, I believe it was. Yep. So int underscore max. Why did that first one not do it? Okay, so we've got those set up. We can come down to here. And of course our get. Return underscore durability. Now we do not have a setter for this. because I didn't want to be able to set outside of this class itself. So we are going to be setting that in the constructor. So I'm going to come up here and do that constructor right off the start. So ISWeapon, and we have to make this public because it is a constructor. And we're going to pass it int. And I'm just going to say durability. And of course, we're going to set our durability to equal the value passed in. And exact same thing for max durability. So int max durability. I'm sure a lot of people are just doing DUR. I just feel like typing the whole word out today. And that'll be equal to max durability. So when the item is created, that's when we're going to be setting these values. At no other time should we ever be setting these particular values. And of course, we're going to return, if I spell it right, max durability. And we'll go down, take damage. Now this is when the item takes damage. So we'll go ahead and the amount is added. So we're going to say durability minus equals amount. And for those that are new, this is just shorthand code for saying that we're going to take the durability that is now going to be equal to the durability minus the amount. So this whole part becomes shorthand just by doing this here. And little shorthands like that, you'll find yourself using over and over. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and remove or lower the durability. Then we have to do a check here. If the durability is less than 0, durability is going to be equal to 0. And we do have a break. I guess we could call that. It really depends on what you want to do in break. I don't think I left any notes, did I? Let me just quickly check. Is that actually what I called it to? I did. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's public. Do I want to? I believe I was just calling that to set the durability to 0 automatically. Always add comments, folks. Always. Of course, I could go back and watch the video, but it would be so much faster if I would have just left comments or some code. Okay, so now I'm going to come down here and just say if durability is equal to 0, I'm going to go ahead and call break, which will come down here and just do something. What do we want to do? Possibly swap out its icon for a broken icon. Well, then that means we need another, you know what? I think I'm just going to leave break as reduce the durability to 0. I think that's what I'm going to do with it. So I'll fill that out right now. Durability is equal to 0. Bam. We'll leave it there. So repair, a little bit different. What we're going to do is increase the durability to whatever the max durability is, and then lower the max durability by 1. There's a few other things we could do, but we could get all fancy, put some algorithms in here, maybe give each item, depending on its material type or its quality type, since we have that set up. It has a certain percentage chance of reducing. Maybe wooden items, when you repair them, drop more than a point. I want to keep this pretty simple, at least for the first iteration through, and go ahead and just reduce it by 1 every time we repair. So I'm going to say max durability, because we want to make sure we lower that first. Negative, negative. So all it's going to do is lower it by 1. I'm going to say durability is equal to max durability. And we want to make sure that max durability is above 0. Max durability is greater than 0. Then we'll set the durability there. If it's not, then there's no point in adjusting the durability because it's 0, it's broken, it's trash, get rid of it. That could be another thing we could have done with break. It was where when the max durability finally reaches 0, it just literally turns to dust and gets destroyed. That would actually add some interesting game mechanics that we could have as well, where certain maybe really powerful bosses have that 1% chance where they just destroy your item instantly. Most gamers don't like that, especially when you've worked so hard to get that really uber elite item. Then you just lose it in one random encounter. We'll have to think about that. Maybe I should take some notes. I thought I had a really good idea for it when I put it in there, but unfortunately I didn't comment. So I might have to go back and watch that first and second video again. Anyway, that's it for durability. Let's come back up. IEquipable. Go ahead and implement that. And spaces. So I need an equipment slot, and that's it. So we'll come up here. Serialized field and equipment slot. This is the interface one. I don't want the interface one. I want the class one. We could do the interface one as well, but I want the class. And I'm just going to call it equipment slot. And I knew that was going to happen. And before I forget, while I'm up here, system.serializable. Let's make sure we got that. We want it to be serializable. Okay, so we got the equipment slot. So we're going to come down here. We have to set this in the constructor as well, because we don't have the ability to change the equipment slot once the item is made. And we've done that because, like when you make a sword, very seldom you're going to want to have the sword on your head or have the sword change equipment slot. So we're going to go ahead up here. Of course, you could, like I said before, where you remold your old items and new items. Maybe you make it into a boot. I don't know. If you want that, then you have to figure out how to put that in yourself. For me, I do not want that ability. So I'm just going to say ISEquipment slot, and I'll call it equipment slot, only if we spell it right. And I'll just come down here and save it down here. All right, we got that one done. Now we can go ahead and return it. And we should actually have our default constructor set it to new as well. Look at that. We'll finish off this one here. So equip. Now, honestly, the more I think about it, we don't really want the equip method to be part of our items. That's kind of out of the realm of our item system. It should not be equipping itself. You could have it that way, but you really should not have it set up that way. So I'm actually going to go ahead and take the equip out, or leave it there. Maybe we'll use it for something else. But I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. We'll just leave it with the throw new. So yeah, I think I want to remove that, to be quite honest. I don't want my weapons to be the thing that equips themselves. I want it to be another system that takes control of equipment, even the inventory system itself. So we're going to go ahead and we'll leave that. And I want to create another constructor. Public ISWeapon. This is not going to take any parameters, but I am going to go ahead and set up some of these things just to be like new things. Is the equipment slot. It's equal to new ISEquipment slot. Now let's go ahead and take a look at that constructor. Do I have it up here? I do not. ISWeapon. Let's go. We'll save that off. We do have some errors. That's fine. We'll get there. Equipment slot. And I'm looking at interfaces. So I'm going to go ahead and create a default here. So public ISEquipment slot. And what do we want to have these as? Well, I'm going to start off with the name to be equaling to name me. And a sprite. Oops, sorry. Icon. equaling a new sprite. Can we do it this way? Can we just make a new sprite? So it'll be empty, but that's fine. Equipment slots. We can close that down. We'll close down some of these interfaces that we don't need. We haven't got that one yet. All right, so we've got all that done, right? And I guess we'll do game object next. Implement the interface for this. And we come down here. So we're going to need a prefab. So that's just a simple game object. I'm going to keep it private. Serialized field, game object. And I'm just going to call it prefab. This is just so we know when this item is equipped, what prefab to go ahead and whip out when the guy equips it. There's going to be a few other things too. We'll probably have to set up some sort of mount point system. But again, that isn't part of the items. The items just revolve around making the items. They don't care where they're placed. They don't care how they're placed there. They just make items. Okay, and then we'll set this up. Equipment slot is equal to new game object. Not equipment slot. What am I doing? Prefab. I'm thinking about how I want to do that. Okay. And I'm also going to add it here because I don't believe we set up a setter and getter right yet. We just have the getter. Because the prefab for my items, I'm never going to be able to change the model throughout the game. If for some reason it morphs into a different weapon, I'm just going to destroy the old one and create the new one. Well, I guess create the new one first in case I need to copy anything over. But I'm never going to be able to change the actual mesh. So for here, we're going to have, what do we want? Game object. Prefab. Try it again. And come down here. We're just going to say that the prefab is equal to the prefab that we pass in. Great. So when we make our weapon, this is how it's going to be done. Unfortunately, if we do it this way, we'll never have a mesh. But we're going to deal with that a little bit later on. We could just get rid of the basic way to instantiate like this and make it so that you can only create this way. And I like that, but this is already dragging on quite a bit longer than I thought it would just to make this class. So let's go ahead and we'll get this one done first. And we'll go working on that when we start flushing out our system a bit more. And of course, we do have a getting set, so I wasn't paying attention. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the set. Because like I said, at no point in the game do we need to change our game prefab. If you want to add particle effects to it, you can just create a new one with those particle effects on it. But we haven't even got the particle effects yet. Whew, so far to go. All right, so let's go ahead. Return prefab. Go ahead and save that off. Let's go see how many errors we have. None. Well, a little anticlimactic. They really didn't do a whole lot. So we got this class made, and this is going to be our base class. I know, like I said, later on, we'll probably want it to be abstract when we get into making the factory. I'm not sure if I'm going to be covering that in a separate series, maybe on design patterns, or if I'm actually just going to implement it here. Maybe both. But either way, this one went a little bit longer than I thought. So we're going to go ahead and end this episode here, and I guess I'll see everyone else in the next video. Bye-bye. Don't forget to subscribe.